The pre-dawn air, cool and crisp, held the faint promise of a new day. A pale, ethereal mist, like a silken veil, drifted lazily over the slumbering valley, tenderly embracing the dark, sentinel-like forms of the bamboo groves. They stood in hushed reverence, their slender culms barely swaying, their leaves whispering secrets only to the wind. The world outside the quiet home of Kentaro, a samurai of the Edo period, was still steeped in the profound tranquility of night's lingering embrace. Within his modest room, bathed in the soft, diffused glow that seeped through the shoji screens, Kentaro lay upon his futon. His breathing was a slow, even rhythm, a gentle counterpoint to the quiet pulse of the sleeping world around him. He did not stir violently from sleep, but rather drifted upwards from its depths, like a leaf gently surfacing on a still pond. His consciousness unfurled slowly, patiently, without haste. The faintest echo of a temple bell, carried on the nascent morning breeze, reached his ears. It was a sound as ancient as the mountains, a profound vibration that spoke not of time, but of timelessness. It was a signal, not of urgency, but of gentle invitation. With an almost imperceptible flutter, Kentaro's eyelids parted. The world that greeted him was not yet fully illuminated, but rather painted in shades of gray and silver. The intricate patterns of the shoji screens, usually vibrant in daylight, now appeared as ghostly silhouettes, delicate and ephemeral. He focused his gaze not on the room, but on the quiet workings of his own breath. Each inhalation was a drawing in of the cool, clean air, carrying with it the subtle, earthy scent of damp soil and distant pines. Each exhalation was a release, a letting go. The faintest echo of a temple bell, carried on the nascent morning breeze, reached his ears. It was a sound as ancient as the mountains, a profound vibration that spoke not of time, but of timelessness. It was a signal, not of urgency, but of gentle invitation. With an almost imperceptible flutter, Kentaro's eyelids parted. The world that greeted him was not yet fully illuminated, but rather painted in shades of gray and silver. The intricate patterns of the shoji screens, usually vibrant in daylight, now appeared as ghostly silhouettes, delicate and ephemeral. He focused his gaze not on the room, but on the quiet workings of his own breath. Each inhalation was a drawing in of the cool, clean air, carrying with it the subtle, earthy scent of damp soil and distant pines. Each exhalation was a release, a letting go. He lay there for a long moment, allowing the sensations to wash over him. The cool kiss of the air on his skin, the gentle pressure of the futon beneath him, the soft whisper of his own body. There was no rush, no urgency. This quietude was a sacred space, a prelude to the day's unfolding. In this stillness he felt connected to everything. the rising sun, the sleeping trees, the very earth itself. His thoughts, if they could be called such, were not a cascade of concerns or plans, but rather a slow, deliberate stream. He considered the simplicity of being, the profound elegance of existence in its unadorned form. He thought of the impermanence of all things, a truth as constant as the changing seasons. The mist outside would soon dissipate, the dawn would bloom into full day, and the day would yield to night. All was in flux. All was transformation. To embrace this truth was to embrace peace. Slowly, deliberately, Kentaro began to move. His movements were fluid, graceful, born of years of discipline and mindful practice. He pushed himself up, his body uncoiling with an almost silent grace. The joints did not creak, the muscles did not strain. It was a quiet awakening of the physical form, mirroring the awakening of his spirit. He sat cross-legged on the futon, his spine straight, his hands resting gently on his knees, palms facing upwards in a gesture of openness. His gaze remained fixed on the shoji screen, where the first faint blush of rose and gold was beginning to paint the eastern sky, subtly transforming the gray into a spectrum of soft pastels. This light, so gentle and unassuming, was a profound daily miracle. It was a reminder of renewal, of hope, of the eternal cycle. He took a deeper breath, allowing it to fill his lungs, then released it slowly, feeling the slight expansion and contraction of his chest. This simple act, repeated countless times throughout his life, was a foundation for his existence. It was a tether to the present moment, a shield against the clamor of the world. He rose to his feet, his bare feet meeting the cool, smooth tatami mats. Each step was deliberate, silent, a conscious engagement with the earth beneath him. He moved towards the small, open window, sliding the paper screen back with a soft sigh of wood against wood. The outside world flowed in, the crisp, cool air, now carrying the distinct, refreshing scent of wet earth and dewy leaves. The distant, melodious call of a cuckoo echoed from the bamboo grooves, a solitary, beautiful sound that spoke of untouched nature. The mist was beginning its slow retreat, revealing the dark, velvety outlines of the mountains in the distance, their peaks still veiled in shadow. Kentaro stood for a moment, absorbing in all. The world was stirring, awakening alongside him, and in that shared awakening he found a deep sense of belonging, a quiet joy. He was a part of this ancient rhythm, a single note in the grand symphony of existence. And with this awareness, he prepared to meet the day not as a challenge to be overcome, but as a journey to be walked with honor, discipline, and an open heart. The first light of dawn touched his face, a silent blessing. The awakening of the body was a sacred dance, a series of deliberate movements that honored the vessel of the spirit. Kentaro moved through his morning rituals with the quiet precision of a craftsman tending to his most cherished tools. There was no haste, no wasted motion, only an elegant flow born of years of devoted practice. He approached a small, polished wooden basin set upon a low stand. A fresh towel, meticulously folded, lay beside it. With a bamboo dipper, he poured cool, clear water over his hands, watching as the liquid cascaded over his skin, a refreshing cascade that cleansed not just the physical, but also the mind. The water felt invigorating, a subtle shock that awakened his senses further. He washed his face, feeling the cool droplets against his skin, then gently patted himself dry, the rough texture of the linen a pleasant sensation. His gaze then fell upon his samurai uniform, meticulously folded and placed on a low chest. The dark indigo of the kimono, the sturdy fabric of the hakama, the elegant simplicity of the haori. Each piece was more than just clothing. It was a symbol of his station, his responsibilities, his commitment to the samurai way. He dressed slowly, mindfully, each fold and tie a conscious act. The fabric settled around him with a familiar comfort, a second skin that spoke of tradition and duty. Once dressed, he moved to a low table in the corner of the room, designated for his morning tea ceremony. This was not mere an act of consumption, but a meditation, a ritual of presence and gratitude. On the table, a modest ceramic tea bowl, a bamboo whisk, chasen, and a small container of vibrant green matcha powder awaited him. A kettle, still warm from being placed over the charcoal brazier by his diligent house helper, hummed softly, a faint, comforting sound. Kentaro knelt, his posture upright and serene. He took a moment to compose himself, his gaze falling upon the simplicity of the implements before him. Each object, though humble, held an inherent beauty, a story of its creation. The rough texture of the ceramic, the delicate strands of the bamboo whisk, all were perfect in their imperfection. He began the ritual. With careful hands, he scooped a measure of the brilliant green matcha powder into the tea bowl. The color was a deep, verdant hue, reminiscent of the forests outside, a vivid contrast against the pale ceramic. Then he poured hot water from the kettle, a gentle stream that created a delicate steam carrying the subtle, earthy aroma of the tea. Taking the bamboo whisk, he began to stir, his movements precise and deliberate. The whisk moved in swift, small circles, then back and forth, creating a frothy, emerald-green liquid. The soft, rhythmic whoosh, whoosh, whoosh of the whisk against the ceramic was the only sound in the room, a soothing cadence that drew him deeper into the present moment. He watched the delicate bubbles form, watched the powder dissolve, transforming into a vibrant, invigorating beverage. His attention was entirely absorbed in this simple act. There were no distractions, no wandering thoughts, only the tea, the bowl, the whisk, and the warmth of the water. This was Chado, the way of tea, a path to inner peace and clarity. When the tea was perfectly frothed, a luminous green cloud, he stopped. He lifted the bowl with both hands, feeling the warmth seep into his palms. He brought it close, inhaling the delicate, slightly bitter aroma. It was a scent that promised both solace and alertness, a bridge between the dream world and the waking one. He took a first sip, slow and deliberate. The tea was warm, earthy, with a subtle sweetness and a pleasant astringency that lingered on the tongue. He savored each drop, allowing the warmth to spread through him, a gentle awakening of his inner being. The bitterness of the tea, he mused softly, his voice a low murmur, is like the challenges of life. Without it, the sweetness would not be as profound. Both are necessary for true appreciation. He took another sip, then another, until the bowl was empty. He wiped the rim with his thumb, a final gesture of respect, then placed the bowl back on the table. The warmth of the tea remained within him, a quiet strength. The morning ritual was complete. His body was clean, his mind was clear, and his spirit was fortified. The tea had done its work, not just nourishing him physically, but also grounding him, bringing him into a state of profound presence. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for this simple yet powerful beginning to his day. The world outside was now bathed in a brighter, more hopeful light, and Kentaro was ready to meet it, fully present, fully alive. Beyond the quiet confines of his home, nestled among ancient cedars and a whispering bamboo grove, lay a small, secluded training ground. It was a space deliberately chosen for its tranquility, a natural dojo where the spirit could find focus amidst the beauty of the natural world. The ground beneath was packed earth, softened by generations of fallen leaves and the gentle dampness of morning dew. Kentaro approached this sacred space with a different kind of reverence than he brought to his tea ceremony. Here, the focus shifted from internal contemplation to external precision, from quiet stillness to dynamic movement. Yet the underlying principle remained the same: presence, discipline, and a deep connection to the self. He untied his haori, carefully folding it and placing it on a nearby stone. The morning air, though cool, was invigorating, hinting at the warmth the sun would soon bring. He picked up his bokken, a heavy wooden practice sword, its smooth, worn surface testament to countless hours of dedication. The weight of it in his hands was familiar, an extension of his own being. He stood in the center of the clearing, closing his eyes for a moment. He took a deep breath, grounding himself, feeling the connection between his bare feet and the earth. He listened to the subtle symphony of the morning, the rustle of the bamboo, the distant chirping of birds, the soft sigh of the wind. These sounds, far from being distractions, became part of his focus, weaving into the fabric of his awareness. His eyes opened, sharp and clear. He adopted a basic stance, feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, back straight. The bokken rested lightly in his hands, pointing forward. This was the kamae, the ready posture, a state of poised alertness, neither tense nor lax. He began with a series of slow, deliberate movements. The first cut, a kirioroshi, a downward strike, was executed with perfect form. The bokken moved with the fluidity of water, then the force of a waterfall. His muscles engaged, not with brute strength, but with controlled power, generated from his core, flowing outwards to his limbs. Each movement was intentional, precise, imbued with purpose. He practiced various strikes: kiriage, upward cut; yokogiri, horizontal cut; zuki, thrust. Each movement was repeated, not mindlessly, but with increasing focus, refining the angles, perfecting the balance, seeking the elusive ideal of zanshin, lingering awareness. He imagined an opponent, not out of aggression, but as a means to sharpen his own technique, to anticipate, to react.
His breath was synchronized with his movements, an inhalation as he prepared, an exhalation as he struck. This controlled breathing was the engine of his practice, channeling his ki, his life force, throughout his body. He felt the subtle shift of his weight, the engagement of each muscle, the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Sweat began to bead on his brow, but he was unaware of it. He was lost in the dance of the sword, a dialogue between his body and the ancient art. The wooden sword became an extension of his will, a conduit for his discipline. He moved with a quiet intensity, his movements flowing one into another, a continuous, unbroken chain of motion and stillness. He paused for a moment, Boken held at rest, his posture still perfect. His breath was deeper now, his heart rate elevated, but his mind remained calm, centered. He reflected on the words of his master. The sword is not merely a weapon, Kentaro. It is a mirror. It reflects your mind, your spirit, your truth. He contemplated this as he resumed his practice. Each strike, each block, each parry was not just physical. It was a practice of patience, of humility, of learning from his own imperfections. He sought not to defeat an enemy, but to defeat the distractions within himself, the wandering thoughts, the moments of hesitation. He moved towards a sturdy tree trunk, scarred from countless previous practices. With controlled power, he struck it, feeling the satisfying thud reverberate through the wood, up his arms and into his core. It was a test of strength, yes, but also a test of intention, of focus. The tree offered no resistance, only truth. He performed a series of suburi, repetitive solo exercises, focusing on speed and power. The boken became a blur, cutting through the morning air with a renewed vigor. The whoosh, whoosh, whoosh filled the clearing, a testament to his dedication. Finally, with a deep exhalation, he brought the boken to a rest, holding it upright, tip pointing towards the heavens. He stood motionless, allowing his breathing to return to its normal rhythm. The sweat trickled down his temples, a warm reminder of his effort. Yet his mind was clearer than before, sharpened by the intensity of the practice. The sword had indeed been a mirror, and in its reflection he had found a deeper understanding of himself.
The scent of dry earth and pine needles mingled with the faintest hint of incense as Kentaro approached the small, unassuming dwelling of his master, Sensei Hiroshi. It was a simple structure, nestled further into the woods, its design a testament to minimalist beauty and quiet strength. Before it lay a meticulously raked Zen garden, its patterns of sand waves and strategically placed stones speaking volumes of patience and profound stillness. Kentaro paused at the entrance, adjusting his hakama and ensuring his posture was impeccable. He cleared his mind of any residual thoughts from his training, preparing himself to receive wisdom. He offered a respectful bow at the threshold, a silent acknowledgment of the sanctuary within. "Enter, Kentaro," a voice seasoned like old wood called from within. It was Sensei Hiroshi, his presence a comforting weight, an anchor in the often turbulent sea of life. Kentaro stepped inside, his movements silent and graceful. The room was sparse, yet full. A low table held a single elegant ikebana arrangement, a stark beauty of branches and a single blossom. Scrolls of calligraphy adorned the walls, their characters speaking of ancient truths. Sensei Hiroshi sat on a cushion, his back straight, his eyes, though aged, holding a deep, knowing twinkle. His presence exuded a profound calm, an unshakable inner peace. Kentaro knelt respectfully opposite his master, his head bowed. "Sensei," he murmured, his voice soft with deference. "Rise, Kentaro," Sensei Hiroshi replied, a gentle smile gracing his lips. "And take a cushion. There is tea to be shared." A pot of freshly brewed hojicha, roasted green tea, sat between them, its warm, nutty aroma filling the space. Sensei poured the tea into 2 modest ceramic cups, the liquid a rich amber hue. The steam rose, a small ephemeral cloud, carrying the promise of warmth and conversation. They drank in silence for a few moments, savoring the simple pleasure of the tea. The quiet stretched between them, not as an emptiness, but a rich tapestry woven with unspoken understanding. "Your movements this morning were focused," Sensei Hiroshi finally began, his voice calm, measured. "Yet I sense a subtle tension, like a string pulled just a fraction too tight. I strive for perfection, but sometimes I fear the striving itself becomes an impediment. I seek to embody Mushin, the no-mind, but the very act of seeking often brings mind." Sensei Hiroshi nodded slowly, taking another sip of tea. "Ah, the perennial paradox. To truly achieve no mind, one must first be mind. One must understand the nature of the mind before one can transcend its limitations. Tell me, Kentaro, when you wield your sword, what do you see?" "I see the blade, Sensei. I see the target. I see the path of the strike. I see my own posture." "And what do you feel?" Sensei prompted gently. "I feel the weight of the bokken, the engagement of my muscles, the rhythm of my breath." Sensei Hiroshi smiled, a knowing glint in his eyes. "All excellent observations, Kentaro. But now try this. When you next train, do not see the blade as separate from your hand. Do not see the target as separate from your intention. Do not see your breath as separate from the air. Become the blade. Become the strike. Become the breath." Kentaro listened intently, the words resonating deep within him. "To dissolve the boundaries, Sensei?" "Precisely," Sensei affirmed. "To become one with the act, to lose yourself in the movement, so that there is no longer a Kentaro who wields the sword, but only the sword in motion. This is the essence of Mu, emptiness, not as an absence, but as a boundless presence. When you are truly empty, you are full." He paused, allowing the words to settle. "And how does this relate to life beyond the dojo, Sensei?" Kentaro asked, his voice earnest. Sensei Hiroshi gestured with a graceful hand toward the Zen garden visible through the open shoji screen. "The same principles apply. When you walk through the village, do you merely see stones and wood, faces and clothes? Or do you perceive the stories woven into the fabric of their lives? Do you hear the silent songs of joy and sorrow? When you speak to a peasant, do you see merely a peasant or a fellow human being sharing this fleeting existence with you?"
Honor, sensei, is often seen in acts of courage and loyalty. But is there honor in simply being? Ah, Kentaro, that perhaps is the highest form of honor. To live with integrity in every moment, to be mindful of every breath, every word, every deed, to cultivate inner peace so that it ripples outwards, touching all those you encounter. True honor is not displayed in grand gestures, but in the quiet, unwavering commitment to live harmoniously with oneself and with the world. Impermanence, Kentaro, is not a sorrowful truth, but a liberating one. It reminds us to savor each fleeting moment, to appreciate the beauty of change. The cherry blossoms bloom for a short time, but their ephemeral beauty is profound precisely because it does not last. So too our lives. Knowing this, do we cling to what cannot be held, or do we embrace the flow? Kentaro absorbed these words, feeling their profound depth. They were not mere pronouncements, but reflections of a lived wisdom. He felt a quiet stirring within him, a sense of clarification. The tension his master had perceived began to dissipate, replaced by a subtle lightness. "Thank you, Sensei," he said, bowing his head once more. "Your words are like clear water to a thirsty soul." Sensei Hiroshi smiled, a serene and knowing expression. "The well is always within you, Kentaro. I merely point to the bucket. Now, tell me, what plans do you have for the rest of this day?" The conversation flowed on, gently, thoughtfully, like a clear mountain stream. It was a communion of spirits, a shared journey on the path of understanding. In this quiet room, amidst the scent of tea and the wisdom of his master, Kentaro found not only guidance, but also a deeper connection to the timeless truths that shaped his world.
Stepping out from the quiet sanctuary of Sensei Hiroshi's dwelling, Kentaro found himself enveloped by the vibrant, awakening pulse of the village. The air, now warmed by the morning sun, carried a rich tapestry of scents: the smoky aroma of cooking fires, the sweet perfume of blooming wisteria, the earthy tang of freshly turned soil. The mist that had shrouded the dawn was long gone, replaced by a crystalline clarity that illuminated every detail. His journey through the village was not a mere passage from one point to another, but an act of mindful observation, a practice in remaining present amidst the kaleidoscope of life. His strides were measured, his posture upright, yet his gaze was soft, open, absorbing the myriad sights and sounds without judgment. The path wound gently downwards from the foothills, leading him into the heart of the settlement. Small wooden houses with thatched roofs lined the narrow lanes, their shoji screens now mostly open, revealing glimpses of daily life within. Children, their laughter like bright bells, chased each other through the alleyways, their bare feet kicking up tiny clouds of dust. Their energy was infectious, a joyous contrast to the samurai's measured calm. Yet Kentaro watched them with a quiet smile, appreciating their uninhibited spirit. He passed by a small rice paddies, already shimmering with water, reflecting the sky like broken mirrors. A farmer, his back bent with years of labor, carefully tending to the young shoots, his hands moving with a practiced grace that spoke of deep connection to the earth. Kentaro offered a subtle nod of respect, which the farmer, without looking up, returned with a quiet inclination of his head. There was a shared understanding,
a mutual respect between the protector and the provider. The sounds of the village intensified as he ventured deeper. The rhythmic clack, clack, clack of a weaver's loom echoed from an open doorway. Its intricate rhythm spoke of diligent craft. The scent of freshly baked mochi, sweet and comforting, wafted from a nearby stall, tempting the senses. A blacksmith's hammer rang out with strong, resonant clang, shaping metal with fire and force, a primal sound of creation. He observed the people, women washing clothes by a communal well, their chatter a soft murmur. Old men gathered on benches, sharing stories and sips of sake. Merchants meticulously arranging their wares, brightly colored fabrics, fresh vegetables, intricately carved wooden toys. Each face held a story, each gesture a purpose. Kentaro's presence was acknowledged, but not ostentatiously. A respectful nod here, a brief bow there. The villagers understood his role, and he understood theirs. There was a quiet harmony in their interactions, a mutual dependence woven into the fabric of their feudal society. He was the sword that protected their peace, and they were the hands that cultivated their sustenance. He noticed a young apprentice carefully sweeping the steps of a tea-house, his movements still a little clumsy compared to the seasoned brace of Kentaro's own rituals, yet the boy's diligence was commendable. Kentaro remembered his own beginnings, the countless hours spent refining basic movements, the quiet lessons learned through repetition. His path led him past a small, vibrant market square. Here the colors were brighter, the sounds livelier. Bundles of fresh greens, crimson persimmons, and glistening fish lay arranged on straw mats. The air was thick with the shouts of vendors, the haggling of customers, the general hum of commerce. It was a symphony of daily life, vibrant and unapologetic. He paused for a moment, allowing his gaze to wander, to take in the rich tapestry of human interaction. He noticed a small bird, perhaps a sparrow, confidently hopping between the stalls, pecking at fallen grains, utterly unconcerned by the bustling activity round it. A small, perfect moment of nature existing in harmony with human endeavor. His mind drifted to Sensei Hiroshi's words. Do you merely see stones and wood, faces and clothes? Or do you perceive the stories woven into the fabric of their lives? Kentaro tried to see beyond the superficial, to sense the underlying currents of joy and struggle, of hope and resilience that animated these lives. He saw the weathered hands of an old woman carefully selecting vegetables, hands that had tilled fields for decades. He saw the proud smile of a young mother holding her infant, a new generation blooming. He saw the weary but determined eyes of a craftsman pouring his skill into his work. Each individual was a universe, a repository of experience and emotion. And in recognizing this, Kentaro felt a deeper connection, a shared humanity that transcended his station. He was not just a samurai passing through. He was a witness, a participant in the grand drama of life unfolding around him. The journey through the village was a lesson in itself, a living meditation. It reaffirmed his place in the world, his duties, and the preciousness of the peace he was sworn to protect. As he continued on his way, the sounds of the village slowly receded, leaving behind a resonance of bustling life and quiet appreciation within him. He carried the vibrancy of the market, the discipline of the farmer, and the innocence of the children, all woven into the fabric of his peaceful morning.
The village began to thin, the houses giving way to open fields, bathed in the soft, golden light of late afternoon. The sun, though still warm, had begun its slow descent, casting long, peaceful shadows across the landscape. The air here was cleaner, fresher, carrying the scent of rich earth, wild grasses, and the gentle whisper of the breeze through the rice stalks. Kentaro found himself on a narrow, winding path that led deeper into the agricultural heartland, a world of patient labor and enduring connection to the land. He walked with the same measured pace, his senses attuned to the subtle changes in his environment. The rhythmic hum of cicadas now joined the distant sounds of the village, a natural symphony that spoke of the deep summer. He observed the rice paddies, now a vibrant emerald green, swaying gently in the breeze, a testament to the tireless efforts of the farmers. As he rounded a bend in the path, he saw them, a small group of peasants, their faces tanned and weathered by sun and wind, working diligently in a nearby field. Their clothes were simple, practical, stained with the soil they so faithfully tilled. They were engaged in transplanting rice seedlings, a task both laborious and delicate, their hands moving with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Kentaro approached them with a quiet dignity, not as a superior, but as one who recognized their essential contribution to the realm. As he drew near, one of the younger peasants, perhaps sensing his presence, looked up. His eyes, though initially wary, softened into recognition and then respect. He quickly straightened, bowing deeply. The others followed suit, their movements unhurried but deferential. "Good day to you, Kentaro-sama," the young peasant said, his voice humble. Kentaro returned the bow, a gesture that conveyed mutual respect. "And to you, good people, may your harvest be bountiful." A quiet murmur of gratitude rippled through the group. An older woman, her face a map of countless seasons, offered a slight smile. "With your protection, Kentaro-sama, we have peace to tend our fields, and for that we are truly grateful." Kentaro inclined his head. "It is my duty and my honor. Your diligence in cultivating this land provides the very sustenance of our people. Your work is as vital as any sword." His words were simple, yet they carried the weight of sincerity. The peasants, often overlooked by those of higher station, visibly appreciated his acknowledgment. There was a brief, comfortable silence, filled with the soft sounds of the wind and the distant cries of a hawk circling high above the fields. "The sun is generous," Kentaro observed, gesturing towards the verdant fields. "Indeed, Kentaro-sama," Though the days are long, the earth is yielding. He then noticed an even older man, seated on a low stool at the edge of the field, his gnarled hands meticulously weaving a new straw mat. His back was curved with age, but his eyes, when he looked up, were sharp and filled with a serene wisdom. He had not bowed, but merely offered a slow, deliberate nod. Kentaro felt drawn to him. "May I sit with you for a moment, old one?" he asked, his voice gentle. The old man's smile widened, revealing a few missing teeth. "The path is open to all, Samurai-san, and the shade of this tree is kind." Kentaro respectfully sat on the ground beside him, cross-legged, feeling the cool earth beneath him. The old man continued his weaving, his fingers moving with an almost hypnotic rhythm, each strand of straw finding its perfect place. "You have seen many harvests, grandfather," Kentaro began softly. "More than I can count on all my fingers and toes," he chuckled, his voice raspy but warm. "And each one a miracle, each seed a promise, each sprout a hope." "You speak of miracles in the ordinary," Kentaro mused. "Are they not? To take a tiny seed, entrust it to the earth, and see it grow into something that sustains life. Is that not a profound mystery, a daily testament to the generosity of the world?" Kentaro nodded slowly, contemplating. "My master speaks of impermanence, that all things are fleeting, yet the cycle of the harvest returns year after year." "Ah, but the plants themselves are impermanent, Samurai-san," he pointed out gently, his fingers never faltering in their work. He paused his weaving, looking out over the fields. "We are like the rice, Samurai-san. We rise, we flourish, we feed, and then we return to the earth. Our individual lives are short, but the spirit of humanity, the spirit of this land endures." Kentaro felt a deep resonance with these simple, profound words. The old man, though unlearned in the formal ways of philosophy, spoke with an authenticity born of direct experience, of a life lived in intimate communion with the rhythms of nature. "How do you find peace amidst the uncertainties of the seasons, the struggles of the land?" Kentaro asked. The old man picked up a single dried stalk of rice, turning it in his fingers. "By accepting what is, by working with the earth, not against it, by finding beauty in the struggle. A strong wind can flatten the young shoots, yes, but it also teaches the others to root deeper. A drought can test our patience, but it makes us appreciate the rain all the more. Peace, Samurai-san, is not the absence of hardship,
but the presence of acceptance. He smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. And in the simple act of weaving this mat, or tending this field, there is peace. Because in doing, with full attention, there is no room for worry. Only the breath, the hands, and the task at hand. Kentaro sat there for a long moment, absorbing the wisdom. The old man's words echoed Sensei Hiroshi's teachings, yet they were delivered with the earthy directness of one who had learned not from scrolls, but from the very soil beneath his feet. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and soft violet, Kentaro realized the passage of time. He rose,
Bowing respectfully to the old man. "Thank you, grandfather. Your words are a comfort and an inspiration." The old man nodded, his eyes twinkling. "Go in peace, young samurai, and remember, even the smallest grain holds the potential for life." Kentaro bid farewell to the other peasants, who offered him warm smiles and blessings for his journey. As he turned to walk back towards the village, the setting sun cast his shadow long before him. He carried with him not just the memory of the encounter, but a deeper sense of connection to the rhythm of life, to the quiet resilience of the common people, and to the profound wisdom that could be found in the simplest of interactions. The day was slowly drawing to a close, but the lessons it brought were just beginning to bloom within him. The day, having poured its light and energy onto the land, now began its graceful descent into twilight. The sky, a canvas of ever-shifting hues, transformed from the vibrant golds and oranges of the late afternoon into a breathtaking palette of rose, lavender, and deep indigo. The air grew cooler, carrying the fresh, clean scent of dew-kissed grass and the deepening mystery of the approaching night. Kentaro found himself on a small elevated bluff overlooking the valley, a familiar and cherished spot where he often came to witness the sun's farewell. Below him, the village lights began to twinkle, small embers against the gathering gloom, a warm promise of hearth and home. The rice paddies, no longer reflecting the sun, now shimmered with the silvery light of the nascent moon, their emerald green deepening into shadowy emerald. He sat cross-legged on a smooth, flat stone, his posture serene and erect. His hands rested gently on his knees, palms open in a gesture of receptivity. His eyes, though open, were unfocused, gazing outwards, but seeing inwards, absorbing the vast expanse of the sky and the profound stillness of the moment. The sun, a fiery orb on the horizon, slowly dipped below the distant mountains, painting the clouds with streaks of molten gold and fiery crimson. Each moment was a delicate brushstroke, transforming the scene before him. Kentaro watched, not with analytical thought, but with quiet awe. It was a spectacle of impermanence, a daily reminder of the cycle of birth and death, light and shadow. He closed his eyes, allowing the afterglow to imprint itself upon his inner vision. He turned his attention inward to the steady rhythm of his breath.
Each inhalation was a drawing in of the cool, pure evening air. Each exhalation a gentle release. He followed the breath, allowing it to anchor him to the present moment, to still the subtle ripples of thought. His mind, sharpened by the day's training in conversations, was now invited to find its deepest peace. He brought to mind the words of his master, Sensei Hiroshi. To truly achieve no mind, one must first be mindful, to become one with the act. He considered the old peasant's wisdom. Peace is not the absence of hardship, but the presence of acceptance. These truths, assimilated throughout the day, now settled within him, not as intellectual concepts, but as felt experiences. He understood the interconnectedness of all things, the warrior, the farmer, the master, the student, the sun, the moon, the earth. All were part of a grand, harmonious design. He meditated on Bushido, the way of the warrior, not as a code of aggression, but as a path of profound self-mastery. Honor was found in living truthfully, compassionately, and with an unwavering commitment to one's purpose. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it, guided by an inner moral compass. He felt the coolness of the stone beneath him, the gentle pressure of the earth. He listened to the increasing chorus of crickets, the soft rustle of leaves in the growing darkness, the distant hoot of an owl. These sounds, far from disturbing his meditation, became part of it, gentle reminders of the living world around him, existing in perfect harmony. A profound sense of gratitude washed over him, gratitude for the gift of another day, for the lessons learned, for the beauty witnessed, gratitude for his health, for his purpose, for the simple fact of being. He opened his eyes slowly. The last vestiges of sunset had faded, leaving behind a deep velvet blue sky, studded with the first faint pinpricks of stars. The moon, a slender crescent, hung high above, casting a soft, silvery glow. The world below was now a symphony of shadows and whispers. He stood up, his body feeling both light and grounded. His mind was clear, refreshed, unburdened by the day's activities. The meditation had cleansed him, bringing him back to his core, to his true self. He turned to face the valley, his gaze sweeping over the sleeping landscape. He imagined the villagers in their homes, preparing for rest, their fires glowing warmly. He imagined the animals settling down, the trees standing sentinel. All was in harmony. All was at peace. Impermanence, he whispered softly to himself, the word carried away by the evening breeze. But in each ending a new beginning, in each breath eternity. He offered a final respectful bow to the fading light, to the mountains, to the unseen spirits of the land. The day's journey was complete, and as the stars began to truly emerge, one by one, lighting up the vast canvas of the night sky, Kantaro felt ready to embrace the tranquility that night offered, knowing that with its arrival, a new dawn would inevitably follow. His spirit, like the night sky, was vast, clear, and filled with a quiet, enduring light. The night had fully claimed the land, wrapping the world in a profound, velvety darkness. The air was cool and still, carrying the deep, earthy scent of the forest, mingled now with the subtle, comforting aroma of wood smoke
from distant hearths. Above, the sky was a breathtaking tapestry of stars, each one a distant jewel, glittering with an ancient, silent majesty. The crescent moon, a silver sliver, cast long, soft shadows, turning familiar paths into mysterious trails. Kentaro returned to his humble home, the tatami mats cool and welcoming beneath his bare feet. The small oil lamp, lit earlier by his house helper, cast a gentle, warm glow within the room, illuminating the simple elegance of his space. The paper screens, now closed, created a cocoon of quietude, shielding him from the vastness of the outside world, yet not disconnecting him from it. He moved with the same quiet grace that had characterized his entire day. There was no hurriedness, no frantic preparation for rest. Each action was deliberate, mindful, a continuation of the day's meditative rhythm. He removed his hakama and kimono, folding them meticulously, their dark fabric absorbing the lamplight. He changed into a simple, comfortable sleeping yukata, its soft cotton a soothing touch against his skin. He sat on his futon, now laid out on the floor, its soft padding inviting rest. He did not immediately lie down, but rather sat for a few moments, allowing his body to settle, his mind to reflect on the day's journey. The events of the day, the invigorating training, the profound wisdom of his master, the simple honesty of the peasants, the reflective solitude of the sunset, flowed through his awareness, not as a jumble of thoughts, but as a harmonious current. He reached for a small bound journal and a brush. With slow, deliberate strokes, he painted a few characters, reflecting the day's central lesson. Ichigo, Ichie, one time, one meeting. Each moment, each encounter, unique and never to be repeated. A reminder to cherish the present, for it is all we truly have. He closed the journal, placing it beside him. Then he turned his attention to a small, polished wooden box. From it he carefully withdrew his katana, his samurai sword. The blade, sheathed in its lacquered scabbard, felt cool and substantial in his hands. He held it for a moment, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of his identity, his lineage, his duty. He drew the blade slowly, with a soft, almost imperceptible shing-shing of steel leaving wood. The polished steel gleamed in the lamplight, a testament to countless hours of careful maintenance. He ran his thumb gently along the back of the blade, admiring its perfect curvature, its formidable beauty. He thought of the generations of craftsmen who had poured their skill and spirit into creating such an instrument, and of the generations of samurai who had carried it with honor. He bowed to the blade, a silent acknowledgment of its power and the immense responsibility it represented. He then returned it to its scabbard, the soft thunk of the blade settling home, a final resonant note. He placed the sword carefully beside his futon, a silent guardian of his slumber. Then he extinguished the oil lamp, plunging the room into near complete darkness. Only the faint silvery light of the moon,
filtering through the shoji screens, offered a subtle illumination. The room became a sanctuary of shadows, a space for deep rest. Kantaro lay down on his futon, pulling the soft blankets over him. He felt the warmth of the quilt, the gentle yielding of the futon beneath his body. He closed his eyes, allowing the stillness to envelop him. His body, though tired from the day's training and travels, felt relaxed, at peace. His mind, though active throughout the day, was now calm, unburdened. He focused on his breath once more, following its slow, rhythmic ascent and descent. He listened to the sounds of the night, the ceaseless song of the crickets, the gentle rustle of the wind through the eaves, the distant mournful hoot of the owl. These were the lullabies of the natural world, a soothing chorus that guided him towards the threshold of sleep. He imagined the valley outside, sleeping beneath the starlit sky, the mountains standing silent watch, the trees swaying in gentle slumber. He was a part of this grand, peaceful tableau. Thoughts of honor, harmony, and impermanence still lingered, but they were no longer questions to be pondered, but truths to be embraced. He understood that peace was not something to be found outside, but a state cultivated within, through discipline, awareness, and acceptance. As sleep began to gently tug at the edges of his consciousness, he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the simple gift of existence. He drifted, suspended between wakefulness and dreams, carried by the soft current of his breath. The boundaries between himself and the world dissolved, becoming one in the quiet embrace of the night. He knew that with the coming dawn a new day would begin, bringing with it new duties, new challenges, new opportunities for growth. But for now there was only the tranquility of the night, the peaceful surrender to rest. And in that surrender he found true repose, a deep and abiding peace that permeated his very being. The samurai slept, a quiet sentinel beneath the vast, watchful stars, ready for the next chapter in the eternal story of life.